Our Deputy Minister in the Presidency for Women, Youth and Persons with Disabilities, Mmapaseka Steve Letsike, has expressed disgust at utterances by podcaster Macgyver Mukwevho, directed at media personality Minnie Dlamini during an episode of his podcast. Minister Letsike says the comments amount to online gender-based violence and has promised to pursue a number of legal measures to hold the podcaster accountable. Attorney of Dubazana Attorneys, Nthabiseng Dubazana, joins us for more. Nthabiseng, a very good evening to you. Thank you so much for your time. I mean, Minister Letsike has warned against treating this incident as harmless or casual banter, expressing that it's a harrowing demonstration of online gender-based violence. What's your view?
Well, when we're looking at the manner in which the discussion was held, I think it's going to be very interesting to see how the minister is going to table this to the portfolio committee in terms of it being gender-based violence, in the sense that it was directed to the celebrity that you have mentioned. And as a result, how then are we going to go through the definitions of what gender-based violence is in terms of the law? Remember, at the end of the day, I beg your pardon, GBV would fall under the umbrella of domestic violence. Mm-hmm. So now the question would be, or at least the Harassment Act. So now the question would be, has the complainant, i.e. the victim in this situation, felt that part, which is the harassment, alternatively the domestic violence that we are talking about? So now, with that being said, I think, yes, it may be a good idea for the laws that surround cyber crimes to be dealt with, Electronic Communications Act also to be implemented. They exist, but they are not really thoroughly used by law enforcement, SAPS, or you rarely see it in criminal court, actually. So with that aspect, I agree with her fully. But what I would love to see is how it will be tabled for the use of the umbrella of gender-based violence.
So some remarks have opened up questions about the impact of misogyny. How much harm does it have on society? What does it do to perpetuate the dehumanization of women? I mean, those kind of questions, as we try and see, which tiers of gender-based violence will come to the fore in this matter. I mean, what do you think the bigger impact is of such talk on media platforms, social media platforms?
I think the main thing is the manner in which the media, especially when it comes to podcasts more than anything else, how they have been dealt with in terms of how they speak of other individuals. It is not the first time that we hear of a celebrity being torn down in one manner or another. It is not the first time that we hear the gender of an individual being brought forth, their history, their romantic history, their violent history, whatever the case may be. It is not the first time. And it's not the first time that anyone who is found to have been the one perpetuating this conversation has been taken to court by the person affected by the utterances. However, it is the first time that we see Parliament getting involved in the manner that it is. So now the question is Parliament biased towards an individual? Is Parliament biased towards a specific gender? Because the communications that have happened are not only just to women. It's not only just to Black people. It's always, it's really bad, actually, with the way the things we see in podcasts. But it keeps on going and going. It seems like it's a fire that has fuel, and with the more comments and the more sharing and the more interaction that happens with these podcasts, we see it continuing on an unmonitored basis. If I'm not mistaken, there was one where it falls under the very same podcaster, wherein a rapper went in to go defend his woman's honor, and he was the one that was attacked for defending his woman's honor, instead of the person who brought this person's life into the fray without any real facts. It is assumptions, and when you assume something of somebody and you put it out there, that person has a fray of legal frameworks to use against you, be it civilly or criminally, to hold you liable for your actions. But does Parliament have the same powers? That is the question that will be interesting to see when the matter is officially referred to Parliament.
So on an individual basis, how much legal leverage is there should the individual come forward to say, I would like to pursue this?
Oh, significant leverage, actually. So firstly, there's criminal injuria, that is criminal defamation of character, basically. So the definitions of it's easier to prove criminal injuria than it is to prove civil defamation of character. But for a celebrity such as Minnie Dlamini, it will be even easier to prove both. So she can refer the matter both civilly and criminally. And it will both be, I think it will actually lead to the same result. It's just that one would lead to financial gain and the other may lead to incarceration of the podcaster. That's the first thing. But in order to initiate the civil one, at least, you would have to send something like a letter that is deemed a cease and desist letter to warn this person that they must stop uttering what they're uttering, and then further to remove that content from their podcast. Failure to do so would lead to further legal action happening. If they fail to do so, which is always the case, they choose not to do so, then they can proceed with their legal process to say, we gave you the opportunity to remove this information, even though my name is already tarnished, but you still failed to adhere to a legal request with my name involved in it. And as a result, then I'm going to follow the due process when it comes to the legal fraternity, either a civil case or a criminal case against you.
What about platforms like the Broadcasting Complaints Commission of South Africa or the Human Rights Commission or Gender Equality Commission? How much of a platform can those be for a sense of accountability?
Oh, they can be used also in conjunction with, so for example, in the civil litigation suit, it can be that the first and second applicants can be the complainant, which is Minnie Dlamini, and the second applicant can be the South African Human Rights Commission. This is what they do. This is what they fight for, the rights of individuals who have been infringed in whatever manner or form. And then the respondents can be either the company that holds the podcast and then the individuals specifically that we engaged in this conversation. And then the gender equality also can maybe choose to be involved as a friend of the court to hear what is happening in amicus curiae, in other words. So they are there to ensure that the rights of individuals are adhered to in terms of the Constitution. But remember, every person's right has a certain amount of limitation in terms of Section 36. So now we have to do a balancing act. The balancing act is the right of this individual versus the right to freedom of speech. How far does either right go? How far does either right need to be limited? And the court would have to look at that and see whether or not this particular podcast has the right to say the thing that they have said, and if so, to what extent, and vice versa, whether she has a right to protect her name and reputation, and if so, to what extent. I'm not sure if podcasts, unlike your SABCs, are subject to the Broadcast Complaint Commission, but I do believe they have an umbrella wherein anybody who broadcasts to the general public would have to answer to them. So they could probably be used as a court of first instance, where they refer this matter to say, deal with this, and whatever ruling that you come up with, if they still fail to adhere to that ruling, I can take it further on review or to a high court to say this person is not adhering to what the court has said in the Broadcasting Complaints Commission.
Sure. Thank you so much. Perhaps let's leave it there for now. Wrapping up that conversation with attorney at Dubazana Attorneys, Nthabiseng Dubazana.